Hi, I'm the host. It's 1957, and 16-year-old John Lennon is hanging out in Liverpool, England. He's got a guitar and a group of friends, and they're playing skiffle, a lively folk-inspired music that's popular in Britain. One day at a church fair, John meets a kid named Paul McCartney. Paul's only 14, but he can play guitar and sing, and before long, he and John are jamming together. Soon, Paul shows up with his friend George Harrison, a lanky kid with a mop of dark hair. And right there, at that moment, something clicks. The three of them make great music together, and they quickly become a tight-knit group. They play small clubs and parties, building up a repertoire of rock and roll and skiffle songs. And then in 1960 they head to Hamburg, Germany, to play in the famous Star Club. It's a raw, gritty place, filled with rowdy soldiers and sailors. And the Beatles learn how to play non-stop, all-night sets. They hone their skills and develop their sound in this club. And by 1962, they're ready for bigger things. That year they meet a record store owner named Brian Epstein, who becomes their manager. He gives them a new name, the Beatles, and helps them get a recording contract. Under Epstein's guidance, the band changes their look and their sound, but he never tampers with their spirit. Also, in 1962, the Beatles meet Ringo Starr, a drummer with a sense of humor and a talent for making people laugh. He quickly becomes their friend and joins the band, completing the lineup that the world will come to know. In February 1963, the Beatles release their first single, Love Me Do, which becomes a hit in Britain. Soon, they have a string of other hits like She Loves You and I Want to Hold Your Hand. Teenagers go wild over the mop-top haircuts and cheeky humor of the band. And before long, the British press dubs them the Fab Four. The Beatles aren't just a band anymore. They're a cultural phenomenon known as Beatlemania. In 1964, they head to America and appear on The Ed Sullivan Show. Their performance is watched by nearly 75 million people, and they become an instant sensation. Everywhere they go, fans scream and faint. The Beatles are at the top of their game. But behind the scenes, the band members are exhausted from non-stop touring. In 1966, they stop performing live to concentrate on recording. Fortunately, the band has a brilliant producer, George Martin, who helps them experiment in the studio and push the boundaries of popular music. They create albums like Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and The White Album, which feature psychedelic sounds, orchestral arrangements, and introspective lyrics. Their music changes and evolves, reflecting the social and political upheaval of the times. In the late 1960s, though, tensions rise within the group. There are arguments over money, credit, and control. Paul becomes increasingly frustrated with John's attitude and behavior. Meanwhile, George feels that he isn't getting enough to do in the band. The arrival of Yoko Ono in John's life further strains the group. By 1968, the band is on a break and doesn't seem to have a future. In April 1967, their manager, Brian Epstein, is found dead of a drug overdose. He'd been struggling with depression and addiction for some time, and his death is a tragic loss for the band. Without Epstein's guidance, the Beatles drift further apart. Legal disputes and personal rifts, often exaggerated by the media, pull the group apart. In 1970, Paul announces he's leaving the band. The Beatles are over. Now solo artists in their own right, each goes on to have a successful career. But the shadow of the Beatles looms large, and it can be hard to escape the echoes of that past. In 1980, tragedy strikes again. John Lennon is shot and killed outside his home in New York City. 5 years later, George Harrison dies of cancer. But their music lives on. Today, more than 60 years after they first got together, the Beatles continue to be loved around the world. Their story is one of friendship and conflict, of genius and humanity. It's the story of 4 young men from a small English city who changed the world forever. Thanks for watching.